you'll ever hear. I mean, the band, the timing, the feel of the whole thing. And of course, Ray Charles is the amazing genius. So if you ever get a chance to hear that particular version of Drowning My Own Tears, you owe it to yourself to hear it because it is very moving. And so I listened to that. I was still in high school and I was just starting to play the guitar. But that music just moved me. And so I started getting more into the idea of listening to the blues. And I started listening to B.B. King and Freddie King and a bunch of different blues players. And so I learned a lot about it initially. But then I became a rock and roll guitar player. I didn't really play the blues that much. But I like it, and I like to have a chance to do it, you know, so I think my next record is going to be a little more blues and maybe half and half that and some progressive rock kind of stuff. I'm not really sure yet, but.
Phil?
Yeah, I got a question. Are you, your band or ensembles, are you the music director, or do you have, is one of your co-hosts the music director?
It's the Dick Wagner show. I'll just put it that way. You know, it's what I want, you know, and it's my music, and so it has to be the way I want it. You know, I mean, that doesn't mean I'll give everybody freedom to do things. I do, but when it comes down to what the overall picture is, or what the overall arrangement of a song, or whatever, it's up to me. You know, that's my thing. Yeah.
And I think too, Dick, if you're gonna make it, and like Dick has made it and written these wonderful songs, if you're listening to other people, it's really difficult to do it. At least you can say, I gave it my best shot, and he did give it his best shot, and look what it achieved, eh? Isn't that great?
See, in my career, I mean, there are other people who have great influence. My manager, Susan, takes care of all the business, so I don't have to be concerned that much with it, you know. And I've got a road tech and a guy who takes care of my instruments and handles all that, so I don't have to worry about that. The only thing I have to worry about really is the music and the show, you know. And so people come and go, and the band changes and alters because of situations, but it always has to be in my convenience, I guess, whatever you want to call it. But it's my thing. It always has been. I've been the leader of several bands that were, you know, from the Bossmen to the Frost to Lou Reed's band. I was his band leader, and Steve Hunter and I played lead guitars together. But I was the arranger and the guy who led the band, you know. I've always had to have the confrontations with management and venues. I mean, so sometimes I'm the bad guy, not the good guy. But I try to be the good guy most of the time, you know.
In that Rock and Roll Animal, he took that from the Velvet Underground songs. He's the one that did all the arrangements.
Yeah.
And I would just like to comment that the Velvet Underground were terrible. They were, I'm sorry.
They were terrible, but the songs had substance. The songs were good, so I just decided that I was going to arrange them in a way that they could play the concert stadiums, you know, which is what we did. And he got his first gold record based on Rock and Roll Animal. So what I wanted to do worked. Of course, right after the tour, he fired me because he hated it. He decided somewhere along the line that he didn't like the direction we were in, and he wanted to go to another direction, which was more funky. You know, which didn't really work for him either, but this Rock and Roll Animal album was just power. The thing is that the audiences loved the band, and Lou was okay. He was also in a very bad state of his life at the time, and was doing a lot of drugs, a lot of speed, and he just wasn't on his game during that time. But the band sure was. It was one of the great bands. You know, it's a historic record, that Rock and Roll Animal.
Dusty, question?
I got one.
Your name? You want to know your name?
There's a lot of evidence, and we've talked about some of the early rock and roll and the blues that brought you into interest in being creative and playing guitar. But one of the things that stands out, beyond the fact that you're a very well-used session musician, but you held writing with credits with everybody, one step past that, you're one of the only examples in rock and roll where, I'll take the bridge from Welcome to My Nightmare. None of those chords, 10 long in that progression, are in the same key. And the natural melody that sits over top of that is accessible to a 3-year-old child to sing. What inspired that aspect of your creativity, that you stepped outside of the that which was prevalent in your time, and with the Ray Charles, I mean, it got more gospel, but you were thinking differently than basically everybody in rock and roll at the time. What was the influence that brought that up?
That's hard to say. I mean, I enjoyed weirdness. That's one thing. I really enjoyed weirdness and weird humor, weird music. Somewhere along the line, I realized that you have to, whatever the chord progression is, whatever the song is, it has to be led by a melody. The melody has to go through the chords correctly, or if it turns, even one note turns, it spoils the whole thing. So you got to find the path, you know. And as you're writing songs, you do that. You keep the intent of the lyric and the melody together, no matter what chords you use in a song. There are a lot of songs with strange chords, but if you don't lead it with the right melody, it's going to fall down. And people, when they listen, I mean, in a record, the first thing people hear is the feel of it. You know, they feel it, and then next comes the probably the actual melody of the song, and they get attached to that, and then the chord change. It all happens in a second, but then that comes in, and the last thing people get into or understand are the lyrics. So once they reach that point, they've got the whole song. But if you have one note in the melody that's going the wrong way, that stops their attention. You know, you'll be listening and you're into it, you're in a groove, and then it does something that's not right, then you got to start them over again. Mm-hmm. You know, they can't stay in that mood once it's destroyed. So it'll be a record that, oh yeah, that's pretty good. But for people to say, that's great, I love that, it's got to be that thing that leads them right through musically leads them through. I mean, that's how I think about it. I hope I'm right.
We have time for one more question, and then Nick will be happy to sign any of these wonderful items that we have up here, the books and the CDs. Jeff, last question.
All right, tour stories. Okay, Led Zeppelin has their shark in the motel room story. Does Alice, the touring with Alice, bring up a story like that for you?
No sharks. Yeah, the snake story. We tried to cross the border to go to Calgary, and they stopped us at the border. And Alice has in the show, he's got the snake. He comes out with the snake, the boa constrictor. So they stopped us at the border, and they wouldn't let us bring the snake in. So we had to leave it behind. And we go into Calgary and say, we got a show to do. What are we going to do about this? So they decided to do a radio contest and invite people to bring their boa constrictors to the show. I mean, this is before the show, but and have a contest. And the winner, Alice would take the winner's snake up on stage. And the kid would get, you know, the guy who won it was a 10-year-old kid. Came with this huge boa. And he won the contest, so Alice was taking his snake up on stage. And I think he got some kind of prize, I don't know what it was. But on stage, when Alice came out with this boa, the lights and the audience and the loudness of the band, they were playing Sick Things. When he comes out with the snake. Sick things in cars.